So once again, Sleepy Joe Biden has decided to weigh in on Brexit. Oh no, wait, no, let me rephrase that. He has decided to insert himself into the Brexit issue, just like what Nancy Pelosi did a few weeks back. Now, why is Biden inserting himself into Brexit? A matter that doesn't really concern America. In fact, it's none of their business, really. Well, it's because of the border issue, quote unquote, between the United Kingdom and the Republic of Ireland. Now, what is this border issue? Well, before I get into the actual issue itself, which has come up since Brexit happened, I need to give you some background. Previously, Britain and Ireland were one nation. It took a while, but eventually Ireland became a part of the United Kingdom in 1801. And until 1922, we were one country until after the Easter Uprising and the Civil War. The Republic of Ireland split off from the United Kingdom, but Ulster, Northern Ireland, remained part of the United Kingdom. Ireland then had Dominion status, much like Australia and New Zealand, until the 1950s, I do believe, when they decided to end their Dominion status, remove the monarchy, and then go out in the world on their own. And then in 1973, both countries joined the ECC, which was the precursor to the European Union. But during that time, there was the Troubles that were going on in Northern Ireland. Now, what were the Troubles? Well, the Troubles was basically a civil war between the Catholic community and the Protestant community in Ulster, because for those of you who don't know, Ireland has been rocked with religious turmoil since the 1500s, in particular the 1600s after the Glorious Revolution, where William of Orange invaded Ireland to fight James II over who was going to be the King of England and Ireland. And during that time, Ulster basically ran its own affairs. It was pretty much the first devolved area of the United Kingdom, and the Protestant powers that be didn't treat the Catholics very well. That has to be. They were basically second-class citizens. However, unlike what the African Americans did in the 1960s, the Catholics took up arms, much like they did during the Civil War in the 1910s and 1920s. And what followed was just several decades of non-stop violence. Neither side have any of my sympathies whatsoever. The IRA were bloodthirsty mafiosos, as were the UDA and their Protestant allies. And the British government and the British Army did a really bad job in handling the situation, in particular Bloody Sunday. But then after a while, the Northern Irish people got sick and tired of war. The British people in general had gotten sick and tired of the war, because even we began to feel the effects of the war when the IRA decided to change tactics and also focus on the mainland and attack us instead. Even though, let's be honest, the English, the Scots and the Welsh really had nothing to do with what was going on, because we had no say in what Northern Ireland did with their own affairs. The people themselves, we had nothing to do with it. Most people were completely ignorant about issues at that time, but nonetheless, that's what they did. And in the 1990s, finally, the Good Friday Agreement was signed after many prolonged negotiations in 1996. And aside from all the other things like decommissioning all their weapons from both sides, there was other things that were enacted. And in particular, there was to be no border between Northern Ireland, or the United Kingdom, and the Republic of Ireland. There was going to be an open border for both sides to pass through, and this was meant to help relations. Fast forward 20 years. And Brexit is enacted, and then the issue of the border arises. Now, this wasn't the British who brought this up. We assumed that things would just continue with Ireland the way it always had been. Unfortunately, because the EU were trying to hardball us and was trying to do everything they possibly could to get the best deal possible, or even to stop Brexit entirely, which is what they really wanted, they brought up the issue of the border. Now, let me say this. This issue has nothing to do with the officials in Brussels either, because it wasn't them that helped with the Good Friday Agreement. This is something that was purely between the people of Northern Ireland, the Republic, and the United Kingdom. This had nothing to do with them at all. This was purely a tactic to isolate Northern Ireland so that they could have a backdoor into the United Kingdom to try and put more of their legislation and power onto us, to control us. That's what they were trying to do. We British have been essentially saying, look, nothing is going to change. This is something between us and the Republic of Ireland to sort out. And we will sort out because we are sovereign countries. Well, at least we are. The Irish, not so much because, well, they've joined the EU. But nonetheless, it is a deal that we have to sign with them, not Brussels, because the EU is not a country. So that is the situation. This border issue is essentially a non-issue, but is a concocted issue created by the EU to try and fuck over the United Kingdom in the ongoing negotiations over Brexit. And Joe Biden has inserted himself for whatever reason. I don't know why he's inserted himself. I don't know if he's just more loyal to the EU, unlike Donald Trump, but nonetheless, he has decided to interfere in our matters and try to dictate what should and should not happen between two countries. Look at this clip here where RTE must have asked him something because it was an RTE reporter who had their mic in front of his face. He doesn't have a clue what's going on.
We do not want a guarded border. We want to make sure we work too hard to get Ireland worked out. And I've talked with the the British Prime Minister. I've talked with the Taoiseach. I've talked with others and talked with the French. The idea of having the border north and south once again being closed and require, it's just not right. We just got to keep the border open.
France! Why the hell are France being talked to? What has France got to do with relations between the United Kingdom and the Republic of Ireland? Nothing whatsoever. What the hell can Macron bring to the table? Nothing whatsoever. He has no idea what he's doing. It's purely meddling. That's all it is. Because they're his neoliberal, globalist allies, and he's going to do whatever it takes to get what they want. And if that means leaning on Boris Johnson because the special relationship, so be it. Maybe it's just a sign of his foreign policy. He's going to be meddling and interfering places that he shouldn't be, which is basically what every other president has ever done before Trump. I mean, let's be honest, America has not had the greatest relations with the United Kingdom, really. If Biden does become president, which is very likely at the moment, well, I wouldn't put it past him to meddle in Brexit because that's what he's going to do. That's what he's been saying. And to be honest, there's precedent for this, for America to come over to their so-called greatest special ally, fuck us over. The Suez Crisis in the 50s, decolonisation, the Falklands War, where you stayed neutral and didn't help us, and instead did nothing despite the fact that one of your tin pot dictators that you put in power in Argentina invaded us. Yeah, we're meant to be your special ally, the closest nation you have, your cousins, yet you fuck us over like that. Constantly. Yeah, I'm not exactly positive when it comes to the special relationship with the United States. I honestly have thought that, aside from trade, that Britain really should stay away from America, really, for the foreseeable future, and just stick with the Commonwealth. But beyond that, what else is there to say? There's nothing really that Biden can do at the moment because he's not actually in office. This has everything to do with the British government and the Irish government and the peoples of the respective countries. We will work it out for ourselves. We don't need these people to meddle in our affairs. I don't think there's anything that we can't figure out and sort out for ourselves. We did it in the 1990s, we can do it now. There's nothing that I think that warrants a crisis. And I certainly don't think that foreign powers meddling in our affairs is helpful. But anyway, I'll leave it there. Just a little rant for you guys, so until next time, I'll see you all later.